Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, November 8th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Wednesday card. 3 games on tap, 2 of them nationally televised south of the border on TNT. Sens Leafs, Panthers Capitals, and game of the night, in my opinion, Kings and Golden Knights, a big-time Western Conference showdown. They met each other earlier this season. It was a really good game as well. So definitely looking forward to that tonight. Before we get into tonight's action, let's break down last night. Bit of a mixed bag for me as far as the results are concerned. Actually ended up being a profitable night with the player props because of a few big ones that ended up coming through last night. We had Dylan Dubé for Calgary. We had Barre Boulet and Nick Paul for Tampa Bay. They both scored in the first period of that game. Unfortunately, the bargain bin special of the night for me, I think Juraj Slavkovsky spent more time in the penalty box than more time generating quality chances in that game last night for the Montreal Canadiens. So disappointing showing from him and that entire Montreal team. But we hit on Oliver Wahlstrom for the New York Islanders. Mentioned that he was on the power play and the top line last night. He cashed at a big price as far as player props go. So it was a pretty good night with some of those props hitting. Like I said, up and down night with the sides and the totals. But we did hit the best bet with that Tampa Bay Montreal game going over 6.5. And look, you can't spot Tampa Bay a 4-0 lead and expect to beat them. You know, and that's exactly what we saw from the Canadiens last night. Just an awful start, terrible goaltending too from Jake Allen. That fourth goal that chased him can't go in. And somehow it did. So 4-0 for the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first period. Started to get a little concerned about that over because we had a scoreless second period there going into the third. But sure enough, Montreal, made it 4-1, 4-2. Tampa has had some issues taking the foot off the gas pedal now. Back-to-back nights with a big lead that kind of let the other team back into the game. But unlike the Toronto game where the Leafs came all the way back and won, Tampa Bay ended up closing the door in the third period, ended up with the 5-3 victory last night over Montreal. Buffalo and Carolina. I actually did bet the draw, but I'm pissed off I didn't mention it on the show because I was on the fence about it. But I did bet it right before the game started. I said, you know what? I got a sense it's a close game, Buffalo battles. And that's exactly what they did. 3-2 for Carolina in overtime. Great night, actually, for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in net. I thought he played pretty well. Big reason why the Sabres got a point out of that game. 3-2 Hurricanes. They get the job done in overtime there. The Rangers 5-3 against the Red Wings, kind of like Tampa, Montreal. Bad start for the Detroit Red Wings. They couldn't recover. Rangers kind of went to sleep late a bit, but by then it was too little too late. Rangers with a nice 5-3 win over the Detroit Red Wings. Minnesota with a great third period. Actually, I thought the third period for the Minnesota Wild, maybe their best period of the entire season. They were all over the Islanders. They controlled the play. They were in the offensive zone. They drew a bunch of penalties, and they turned what was a 2-1 deficit going into the third period into a 4-2 win last night over the Islanders. And Alex and I both liked Minnesota in that one. They got the job done. Solid night in goal for Marc-Andre Fleury. The 2 goals that beat him were pretty good shots when you look at them. So 4-2 for the Wild in that game. And the Islanders continue to not bring that same level of defense, that we have seen from them in years past. And it happened again last night in that game. Jets beat the Blues 5-2. Pretty much a nondescript win. The Jets they are the better team, and they actually showed it last night with the 5-2 win over the Blues. Robert Thomas, there's another one. We kept talking. He's the one guy that's scoring right now for St. Louis consistently. Arizona 4-3 over Seattle. We like the over in that game, so good to see that one come through as the Coyotes bounce back with a victory there in that one. Calgary, great third period from them to beat Nashville 4-2. It's bad for Jonathan Huberdeau when he's benched for the entire third period and the Flames win that third period 3-0 without him. That's just rock bottom now for Huberdeau, and I actually thought he was going to turn his tenure with the Calgary Flames around this year, thinking that a lot of problems last year were related to his, frosty relationship with Daryl Sutter. Well, now Sutter's gone. What's the excuse now? You just simply have to play better. And too much periphery play, not good enough away from the puck, and he's not producing offensively. So that's the problem. And he's not playing really much at all good away from the puck. So if he's not producing offensively, what good is he on the ice at the moment? And that's the issue you're having right now with Jonathan Huberdeau. And it's why Ryan Huska, alias Pierre Maguire's twin, as I like to call him, he ended up benching him in that third period. And sure enough, he's benched, and Calgary blows the doors off Nashville in the third period and gets a 4-2 win in that game. Happy for me because I was on Calgary there. Anaheim, I guess the win streak was due to get snapped at some point. It happened last night. 2-0 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Big news, though, is that Tristan Jarry left that game due to injury. And Magnus Hellberg, who was with the Detroit organization for a good period of time, ends up coming in relief of Jarry and actually played pretty well. And Pittsburgh able to get the 2-0 win there. It was one of their better defensive games in a while. 6-3 Colorado against New Jersey. Man, that was a chippy game. I'm telling you, that was a fun game, an exciting game. Great for TNT because that was their late doubleheader game. And, New Jersey still misses Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. That was absolutely atrocious defensive game from the Devils. I mean, how many turnovers, how many odd man rushes did they give up? Combined number of turnovers with the puck and odd man rushes had to have been close to 20, honestly. I mean, it was just absolutely dreadful from New Jersey. And you do that against a team like Colorado, they're going to end up eventually making you pay the price for it. And we saw that in the Avs 6-3 victory last night against the Devils. And a nice response from Colorado after a 7-0 shutout loss, obviously, to Vegas over the weekend. And then we give our tip of the cap and a salute to the San Jose Sharks. You will not go 0-82 this season in the NHL. You get your first victory, 2-1 win over the Flyers, and it was all thanks to Blackwood. That's essentially, the shots were 40-22 in favor of the Philadelphia Flyers. Really, they were awful again in their own end, but the difference is the goalie bailed them out, and it's not just the goalie bailed them out. This is going to be the problem the Flyers will run into all season long, and we've seen it now 2 games where they've scored 1 goal in the 2 games combined. The Kings game, they got shut out over the weekend, and this game. They can have all the chances. They can have all the work ethic in the world that you want. Hard work under Tortorella. They bring that. They bring their lunch pails. They bring their hard hat, the Flyers. That's what they do. But they don't have the offensive creativity throughout the lineup. They don't have the elite level finishing ability throughout the lineup to put away those looks, to put away those shots and convert those shots into goals. They just don't. They just don't have that upper echelon skill, talent throughout the lineup that other teams in the National Hockey League do. And that was, I think, just as big a proponent last night as the loss as it was Mackenzie Blackwood. Lots of chances, lots of shots. They work hard. You're going to get this from that team under Tortorella, but there's just not enough high-level elite skill on this. There just isn't. And that's going to end up being the problem at the end of the night. And it's why, they're going to work their bag off and lose 3-1, on a lot of nights, or lose 3-2. It's just the offensive, it's just they don't have Matthews Marner. They don't have McDavid Draisaitl. They don't have, some of the Panthers forwards. They don't have, big time take over the game and just all of a sudden need a goal up. This guy will get me one. They don't have that right now, this Flyers team. And look, that's why, if that's for the reason why I say that, Alex, is because I think if it's 40-22 for Tampa Bay, out shooting San Jose last night, it's probably 6-1 Tampa Bay, or 4-1 at the very least, or it's something like that, because they can finish Stamkos, Kucherov, and other teams with 40-22 shot edge. They'll finish those chances. They'll finish some of them. They'll convert on some of those shots on goal. Philadelphia just can't do that because they're just not that offensive team with the skill level and talent that's at that upper echelon compared to other teams. Alex, what did you think of last night?
Yeah, Philly and Carolina seem to be the only 2 teams over the last decade where they outshoot teams by a 2-1 margin and find ways to lose. And it's interesting because Philly makes sense; they're a bad team. Carolina is actually a pretty good team, but they just have weird nights where they get 40, 50 shots off, but only 2 or 3 go in, and then they end up giving up 4 or 5. So it's just weird how sometimes those things kind of happen. And like I said, the Sharks weren't going to lose every single game. But and it's tricky now to try and figure out what to do with these Sharks games. I'm seeing people in the chat talk about they played the Sharks and they played the Flyers. Honestly, I would just stay away from the Sharks right now because here's the thing: does this team really look like they can string together wins? It took a bad Philly team to come in there, or at least a mid-range Philly team that was playing decent hockey to start the year. And like you said, but they have their offensive woes and issues. There's going to be bad teams that play the Sharks and find their ways to lose as well because they're bad teams. I don't see the Sharks competing close with a top tier team. I don't see them hanging around with even a middle tier team. They'll get a few wins, and it'll come from the rest of the bottom 10 that in the pool that they're in. So that's just one of those things. And now everybody's of course got circled Edmonton, because as bad as they look now, and it's a prime get back spot for them. But now you got a Sharks team that's maybe feeling some kind of confidence getting the win, and at least not having another L by their name for the first time in a while. So it'll make for an interesting matchup, certainly, but I definitely won't be betting it. As far as Tampa and Montreal, that game really kind of annoyed me. I loved the first period and full game overs, but wanted to get live looks. Sometimes you get burned, and we got a goal that scored in the first 30 seconds essentially, and that pretty much killed any chance of grabbing any live plays. So that's going to happen sometimes. I put them up early on the family plan so everybody can see them and make those judgments and adjustments personally. Sometimes we're going to get burned, and those 2 or 3 scoreless.
And that's a blueprint. That's a blueprint. That's what you're looking to do. But unfortunately, the teams aren't going to listen to the Alex B. Smith blueprint sometimes. And
Right.
You're going to see a goal that early.
Exactly. Yeah. So the 2 to 3 minutes of scoreless play, 3 to 4 minutes of scoreless play. I always put that in there for a reason. But there's times where a goal comes in early and that just throws everything haywire. So didn't get a chance to get that over there, unfortunately. Like you mentioned, Anaheim, the streak comes to an end, unfortunately. But they played their butts off, and it was a tight game late. All the way through, they get the empty net goal. Pittsburgh gets the empty net goal late to make it a 2-0 win. So still not a bad loss for the Ducks. They're competitive in every single game. That's all you can ask for from them right now, and I'm still happy to see the kind of play that I'm seeing from that team right now. And then that Rangers Red Wings game, which was really interesting. I had to draw on that, and I'm watching it, kind of just not really paying much attention because it's 5-0 at the end of the second period, thinking this one's over. And all of a sudden, Detroit comes crawling back. I'm thinking, wow, maybe they could put the pressure on, but it was too little, too late. But Detroit's still a feisty team, and even if they go through their struggles, it's still a team that we can look on day to day, try to find some betting value.
Yeah, it's pretty funny that during that Rangers Red Wings game, we get a DM on X from John Massey, our good friend and Rangers fan, and he said after the first period, where the Rangers dominated the Red Wings, but the Red Wings started to put things together late in the first, and he said, "I like Detroit live after the first period in that game, not trusting his," and he knows that team obviously. He's a Ranger fan, and sure enough, next thing you know, there's the Rangers adding to their lead in the second period. And I know where he's coming from. And I've been there, John. If you're watching and listening, look, I've done this before with my Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL. And Ticats, bar none, are the team that I have the biggest emotional attachment to. There is no question about that, because they're the only team I have season seats to. I go to every home game. I can't say that about any NHL team, NFL team, NBA team. There's some teams I deep down inside I root for. Buffalo, I have Sabres I root for. But there's no emotional attachment for me that's greater than the Ticats. They're in my backyard. I go to every home game. And I've done that before. I've bet against them live, and I bet the other team. And then I see the Ticats score 3 touchdowns right after that. So I've been there before. I know. It's amazing how often that happens. You think you know your team, you place a live bet against them, and that's the team where your team is going to show up and look good. And that's what happened for John last night with his New York Rangers and that Red Wings live bet.
That's happened to me quite a few times with the Hawks, either going for or against them, and then all of a sudden things just unravel. So it happens to all of us.
Yeah, it is. It's like they're trying to punish you. We're supposed to be your team.
Right.
How dare you bet against us? We'll show you. Give us the middle finger, and then it's kind of like that's. It's almost like they're trying to really pull a number over you. That's for sure, no question. But it's just a funny little story, because I've been there with the Ticats. I say, oh geez, they don't have it right now. Got to maybe bet the other side, and then next thing you know, touchdown Ticats, and I got to cheer in the crowd. Yeah, Oski wee wee, go Ticats, and then deep down inside, I'm losing a couple $100. So. It just it is what it is. But no, I would honestly, that's what makes the pain of losing money when I fade the Ticats better, is that at least as a fan and someone that emotionally wants the team to do well.
Yeah,
they play well. But it's a weird dynamic. And so it's also why I try not to bet every Ticats game. It's because, sometimes I just prefer not to be involved. All right, here we go. Let's go to the Wednesday NHL card. We've got the Ottawa Senators taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got the Leafs minus 160, home favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. Battle of Ontario for the first time this season. The Sens and the Leafs matching up against one another. Give Toronto credit for the comeback against Tampa Bay the other night. It was a bad first period, bad defensive play, and even worse goaltending from Samsonov. He got pulled, and obviously coming back to win that game with Joe Woll in net, who really did what he also was able to do against Tampa Bay down in Tampa a couple weeks ago. Just come into the game with the Leafs down big and ended up just holding the fort and giving the Leafs a chance to get back in that game, and they absolutely did. And they ended up winning that game 6-5 in overtime against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a fun. There's never a dull moment with the Leafs. You can't tell me they put you to sleep. That's one of the biggest things I'll say about the Leafs. Their games don't put you to sleep. You're entertained, you're excited, and you're on the edge of your seat from start to finish. They can score for days, and they can give up goals for days. That's kind of what we've seen here for the Leafs here in recent games, especially these last two. They give up a total of 11 goals to Buffalo and Tampa Bay, but they score 10. And certainly both of those games obviously going over the total as well. I could only look over here. And I know this opened 7. It's down to 6.5. I think people saw the 7 and just said, hey, let's bet under 7. A lot of people think that way. But I just don't know if I can trust either team defensively right now. Toronto's healthy. It's just they haven't been good defensively. That's been the issue for them all season long. Is the PK has been a little bit shaky, more than a little bit shaky. 3 power play goals allowed the last 2 games. 5-on-5 defense hasn't been great. So that's a concern. And Ottawa, obviously, we've talked about their situation. Multiple key defensemen out, although they are going to get, it looks like, Artem Zub back in the lineup for this game tonight, which is they could use all the help they can get right now on the depleted blue line that they have, but still without Brandstrom and still without Thomas Chabot. And, of course, none of those guys coming back anytime soon. So, with Zub back, it looks like Jacob Bernard Docker, Tyler Clevin will remain in the lineup. And then, of course, you got the 2 big guys, Sanderson and Chychrun, rounding out that blue line right now. So that's good to see Ottawa getting a little bit healthier. Zub is a solid player, so good to have him back. And, of course, they're also banged up at the center spot. Ridley Gregg out for them, Kastelik on IR, and, of course, Pinto is out indefinitely with the suspension levied on him. So they have some issues there. Joe Woll confirmed in net. Korpisalo expected, but not confirmed yet for the Ottawa Senators in this game. Ottawa's not playing well. They're struggling, no doubt. 1-5 their last 6 games. A 6-4 loss to Tampa Bay Saturday night, and we heard the chants, fire DJ, as in DJ Smith, late in that game. And it's getting ugly. With the recent skid they've had. Have they played horrible in these games? No, but they just haven't found ways to win. The Islander game was right there. They lost. The Buffalo game, they didn't play well that night, but they made it interesting late. The LA game, I thought they made a great valiant effort, but fell short. At Tampa Bay, same thing. I thought there were some good signs from them in that game. But again, they are just struggling right now in their own end, as you would expect with multiple defensemen out. They give up 6 to Tampa, 3 to LA, 3 to the Islanders, 6 to Buffalo, 5 to Detroit during this losing streak. So there's been a lot of issues defensively. But here's the situational dynamics that actually have me looking at this game, Alex, as Ottawa or nothing for me. And that is the fact that they've been off since Saturday. Okay, you've got some time to really band together, go on the road, get away from the noise, get away from the negativity. And believe me, when you're playing bad in a Canadian market, getting on the road is the best thing that can happen for you. And I think that's going to help Ottawa. And quite honestly, do we trust Toronto as a minus 160 price right now with their up and down play? No. So I actually am going to go with Ottawa here, plus 140, going to go with over 6.5. I'm also going to sprinkle a little on the draw in this game. Why not? The Leafs are playing very competitive, close games. Don't like this draw as much as I loved the Tampa game the other night, Tampa-Toronto going to a draw. But we can't deny 3 of the last 5 Toronto games have gone beyond regulation. That's a pretty significant sample size. That's 60%. The last 5 games have gone to overtime or a shootout for Leaf games. I expect a pretty competitive game. Last year, these 2 teams met 4 times. 2 of those games were 1-goal games. 1 of them went to a shootout. So I'm going to go Ottawa plus 140, little smaller a bet on the draw, which again, you can get a nice price on that. And also look over 6.5 here with the Sens and the Leafs. And this could be another game where, look, Tampa, Toronto, that, it didn't work out with the Montreal game last night. But if you're going to look at a first period, both teams to score, this is certainly a game where that I think is a distinct possibility. And again, if you're going to bet the draw like I have, plus 380 at FanDuel, an excellent price for that draw with the Sens and the Leafs tonight. Alex, Battle of Ontario, what do you think?
Yeah, the first thing I had circled was both teams to score in the first period at plus 130. You can grab that at MGM, but I also like the draw here too. And like I said, seeing plus 380 at FanDuel, this could definitely be one of those tight battles once again. Like I said, Ottawa not in the best of form, but like I said, getting guys back and getting away from, like I said, the negativity of being at home. Sometimes that's a good thing. Playing against a rival too that they've played, like I said, tight against over the years. No matter how good or bad they've been, they've always given Toronto a bit of a battle. So definitely leaning with the draw and definitely liking both teams to score first period. But staying away from a full side. It's definitely be kind of a live game. That's kind of the way you look at Toronto anyway. Just try to pick off prices live and hope for the best.
Yeah, and Alex absolutely crushed it with the Leaf game the other night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So get on that family plan. If you're already a subscriber, you're already in. But if not, he's going to have all his live wagers every day. Alex is in there posting live wagers on the family plan community tab for the YouTube channel members. So make sure you get on that for sure. He's been rocking and rolling with the live bets, no question. And we'll see if there's some good opportunities tonight. If it's anything like the up and down frenetic pace that we saw with the Lightning and Leafs, and with these two teams, that's a distinct possibility. And with the defensive shortcomings right now of both teams, that could be a possibility as well. As far as props go for this game, obviously I was thrilled, ecstatic to hit with Matthew Nyes against Tampa Bay with my bargain bin special of the night on Monday. When the Leafs played the Lightning. And I'm going back to it won't be the bargain bin special tonight, but I'm going back to the well with Nyes again here. As long as he remains on that top line with Matthews and Marner, he looked like he fit in perfectly. He got to the loose pucks. He retrieved the pucks. He was always making himself available. And I like how he always says, I got to find Matthews and Marner in his post-game press conference. No, kid, you're a pretty damn good player yourself. They got to find you as well. You can play. I mean, don't just kiss the feet of Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Give yourself some credit. You're a heck of a good young hockey player that keeps on improving. If I'm Matthew Nyes, I say, hey, I want the puck too, and I deserve it every bit as much as Matthews and Marner playing on this line. So from that standpoint, like I say, he scored the kind of goal you want to see him score when you're playing with two great players like that. Front of the net, find the puck, put it past Johansson. It was Johansson that night for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Matthew Nyes here. Now they dropped the price a little bit, but you can still get plus 330, plus 350 here for a player that's on the top line for the Leafs. So I absolutely like the value still for him to find the back of the net. He didn't score the other night, but I thought he gave a big-time charge to the third line with Domi and Yarncroke, and that's Nick Robertson. I liked his game. He got an assist in the win against Tampa Bay the other night. Nick Robertson's not a bad option here. Great value, I think, there. If he can find the back of the net, plus 525 is the price for that as far as the goal prop is concerned with Nick Robertson tonight. So we'll see how that ends up going. And then on the Ottawa side of the fence, you look at their offense and what they've been getting lately. I would say as far as Drake Batherson is concerned, he's a streaky player for the Ottawa Senators, but he's now scored 2 in the last 3 games playing with Norris and Tkachuk. You're right, Tkachuk does have a great track record against Toronto. He always plays well. Josh Norris has been phenomenal. He has a point in all but one game since he's been back from injury. So Josh Norris has been absolutely terrific for the Ottawa Senators as well. And I think there was someone down the lineup that I was a little bit interested in as well for a goal prop. I think it was a Joseph. And Joseph's back on the second line again for Ottawa. And so, yeah, he's only got the 2 goals on the year or 3 goals on the season, but I think 2 of them were when DJ Smith elevated him up the lineup. So that might be a decent player prop value option as well. Matthew Joseph for Ottawa playing on their second line tonight. All right, Florida, Washington. We've got Florida minus 140 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. This is one of those games where I'm probably going to get Florida with a regulation and -1 split It's what I'm going to start doing with some of these minus 140 favorites, especially on the road. I did cash a ticket with Winnipeg in this same price range, minus 140 road chalk last night against St. Louis, but I don't think it's something I want to do routinely is lay a $1.40 price on the road. But there's things about the Panthers that bug me at times, but I think this is a matchup they can win. They've dominated Washington. That's the biggest thing. They've won 6 straight head-to-head meetings against the Washington Capitals. Last year, they played 3 times, 5-2 Florida, 6-3 Florida, 4-2 Florida. And keep in mind, the November victory against Washington 5-2 was, that's back early in the season when Florida was pretty bad, or at least average first half of last year. They didn't get going until the second half of the season. So they dominated the Capitals. They've done a great job head-to-head against this team. I'm not so sure that is going to change here tonight as they take on the Washington Capitals. Again, they're coming off a 5-4 win against the Columbus Blue Jackets in overtime. I'm telling you what, they've looked absolutely spectacular as far as carrying the play. Do you know that they've outshot the opposition now in 7 straight games, the Florida Panthers, where they've carried the play? They've had the better of the play in 7 straight games. And yet, oddly enough, I think their record is only 4-3 in those 7 games. So, they probably have been playing a little bit better than their recent 4-3 record would lead you to believe. Meanwhile, you look at Washington. Yeah, they have won 4 of their last 5 games. Shootout win against Minnesota. 3-1 win against the worst team in the NHL, San Jose. Shutout by the Islanders 3-0. That was the one loss for the Capitals in their last 5 games. And then they beat a Columbus team that's kind of struggling right now, 2-1 in their last game. So if you really look at it, this is a little bit of a step up here for the Capitals. But rather than take them minus 140, I'm going to go with Florida here with a just for a better value, better price. We'll split it between Panthers in regulation, which at Pinnacle right now you can get Florida in regulation at plus 118 in regulation, and the minus 1 price for Florida is at plus 122 at Pinnacle right now. So you basically turn a minus 140 road favorite into plus 118 in regulation and plus 122 for the minus 1 on the puck line. So I definitely prefer those 2 looks here. Split it up between those 2 as far as the Panthers tonight in this game. We've lost Alex for a bit, so I'll carry on with player props here with Bobrovsky and Kemper. By the way, Kemper is back. Kemper has been missing the last couple of games here against the Florida Panthers, but he hasn't played great. I mean, he's 3-4, 2.94 goals against, .899 save percentage coming into this game. He missed the Columbus game, but he's back tonight. Will be in net. Bobrovsky once again will be in net for the Florida Panthers here in this game. And plus, there's still a lot of absences. There's still a banged up bunch right now. The Washington Capitals depth forwards, Nick Dowd out. It looks like Trevor Van Riemsdyk on the blue line out. Edmondson is on IR. And if Evgeny Kuznetsov day-to-day as well for them, and is a game-time decision due to an illness tonight for this one as well. So tough sledding right now as far as the health of the Capitals at this point in time. I do want to point out as far as props go for this game tonight on the Florida side of the equation, you still have some good value with Lindell centering the second line. He's fit in pretty nicely there. And you look at what he's been able to do. He's gotten a point now in 4 of the last 6 games for the Panthers, and playing now up the lineup just a little bit to the second line center spot. Probably a good option there. Evan Rodriguez for the Panthers cooled off a little bit, but, still getting the top line responsibility with Barkov and with Sam Reinhart. And of course, Sam Reinhart's been, among the best forwards for the Florida Panthers so far all season. For Washington, the decision of who to bet as far as player props, if you're going to trust anybody right now, really the only 3 guys that are doing anything offensively at the moment for them, a little bit from Sonny Milano, which has been good from the bottom 6, but really only other than him right now, the 2 guys that are really carrying whatever offense they have are Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson. And we've talked about Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson quite a bit, and how they've been really the only 2 guys that have been lighting the lamp routinely this year for the Capitals in recent games. So that's where it starts and ends for me if I'm looking at Caps props. Dylan Strome, Tom Wilson. We got Alex back. Alex, what do you think here? Florida, Washington.
Yeah, this is gonna be a pass for me. I was looking toward Florida in regulation, but I just can't trust laying a price with them, even against a bad team like Washington. This feels like it could be a real sloppy game. Definitely would look toward the over, maybe even a sprinkle in the draw potentially. These two teams just usually kind of play up and down, back and forth hockey when they face off against one another. But usually it's Florida coming out with the victory. But there's been some tight battles amongst that streak of wins for Florida, so it's gonna be a pass for me.
All right. Final game now of this Wednesday night slate, and this is the second game of the TNT doubleheader. Of course, this game is the first, Florida and Washington. That'll be Brendan Burke and the Panger calling this game, the Florida-Washington game. I mean, the second game, Los Angeles, Vegas with Kenny Edzo and Bush tonight doing this one. It should be a great game. LA and Vegas, we've got Vegas minus 130. Home favorites, and the total 6 here in this one. So this game was my weekly write-up for Oddspedia. I do the weekly article. It's usually a Wednesday night game, and it's usually one of the TV games on TNT, and it was this game, Kings and Golden Knights. The total is what fascinated me about this game, because when you look at it, you can make a strong case for both the under and the over in this game. It's just which side of the fence do you fall on? What do you value more? Do you value the LA Kings really becoming a defensive stalwart again on this great road trip that they're on? They have played outstanding defense. They've gotten their defensive game back in order, because we know the LA Kings are capable of being one of the better defensive teams. They've got that great deep center ice spot with multiple players that are good defensively. Kopitar, great defensively. Danault, great defensively. Dubois, above average defensively, and especially he's been better, I think, defensively here with LA than he was with Winnipeg. So those are three good two-way centers right there. 1, 2, 3 for the LA Kings. And early in the season, they were giving up goals. It wasn't pretty, and they weren't playing that level of defense. But now they are. I mean, this road trip, they've been excellent. They've been responsible in their own end. They've won all 3 games on this road trip, and they have surrendered to the opposition just 3 goals in the 3 games. 1 goal allowed to Toronto, 2 to Ottawa, shut out Philadelphia in their last road game. So they have been extremely strong. 5-0 now, 6-0 on the road for the LA Kings. They've been road warriors this year. They played outstanding hockey on the road. Now, this is the last game. It's a weird road trip here where they have 3 games in the Eastern time zone, Toronto, Ottawa, Philly. And now they've been off since that Saturday game against Philadelphia. And now they're playing the final game of this road trip all the way out west here in Vegas to wrap up this road trip. So normally, and we've said this before, I have on this show for sure, that the team that's on this great undefeated road trip, sometimes that final game of the road trip, that's where they get tripped up. They're looking forward to getting home. They look past the final game of that road trip. I can't see that being the case tonight for the LA Kings, though. This is a Vegas team that's the defending champs. This is a team that they want to get through to get to the Stanley Cup again, or to get to the Stanley Cup, not again, but to get to the Stanley Cup final. They want to get through Vegas. They already lost to Vegas at home earlier this season, 4-3 in October. I think LA shows up tonight. Yeah, I don't think this is, we've had a great road trip. It's the final game. We want to get back home. We slough off a game on TV against Vegas. No, they're bringing it tonight, the LA Kings. I would be shocked if they don't play a strong game. Will it be enough to win? That ends up being the question. Vegas is coming off that loss to Anaheim, tricky spot. Definitely hit a wall in the third period, because that's when the game turned in Anaheim's favor, and they got the 4-2 win over the Vegas Golden Knights. And Vegas had just crushed Colorado the night before, 7-0. Something's got to give here. You've got 7-0-1 at T-Mobile Arena with Vegas on home ice, 7-0-1, and you've got the Kings at 6-0 on the road. Something's got to give here. But I think LA is the side for me at a plus price in this game. I like the way they're playing. I like the fact that it's kind of a redemption game for them after losing 4-3 in a shootout against the Golden Knights. And they outshot Vegas 40-30 in that game. So it's kind of unfortunate, kind of a bad luck game for LA that they lost that game. I thought they outplayed Vegas, but they lost 4-3 in a shootout. So I like the price here with LA. They've been just absolutely terrific on the road, 6-0 away from LA this season. Looking to get some redemption, plus 115, plus 110 is the price you can get here with the Kings in this game. And this is another one, just like the Ottawa game where I mentioned I like the Senators and a smaller sprinkle on the draw. Same thing here, LA, smaller sprinkle on the draw in this game as well with the LA Kings. You can get a pretty good price with the draw. Once again, go to FanDuel and you get this outstanding and we're not being paid by FanDuel. I'm not. Nobody
No.
is here. This is just the price there is better with the draw bets at FanDuel. Think about it. Do you want to pay plus 330 at Caesars or plus 334 at Pinnacle with the draw in this game? Or do you want to get plus 360 right now at FanDuel with the draw in this game? So you know which one the better option is for sure. So Kings plus 110 to plus 115, little smaller bet on the draw, plus 360. The total is the one that's up in the air for me. The Kings have been under machines on this road trip because the defense has been good and Cam Talbot's been awesome. He's been really good. I mean, let's give credit to Cam Talbot. He's in one of those zones right now where he's playing well for the Los Angeles Kings. And of course, you know what you're going to get from Aiden Hill, who's been great this year. He's already confirmed in net. It probably will be Talbot for the Kings, even though it hasn't been confirmed yet. So it could be a goaltending battle. And both guys have terrific numbers right now. Talbot of late after the slow start, and Hill all season's been great. And the Kings are trending under, and the Vegas Golden Knights, when they're on their game defensively, even with the couple injuries they have, like Haig and Whitecloud, they can shut you down. And they both have top 10 penalty kills, both of these teams. That being said, do you see the series history between these two teams? Like, it's a head scratcher. We know they're good defensive teams. Kings are trending under. They're capable of having a 2-1, 3-2 game, but apparently not against one another. How about 8-1-1 to the over in the last 10 meetings between the Kings and the Golden Knights? And all 10 of those games have reached at least 6 goals. So if you're going to bet over 6 in this game, and based on the series history, you're probably pushing it worst because we've seen 10 straight LA versus Vegas games, and all 10 of those games have gotten to 6 at the very least. So it's a really weird total to wrap your head around. For me, I've got to defer a little bit to series history over the form of the Kings. I mean, that's just when you're talking 8-1-1 to the over. I mean, series history over bets are what I've done with Philly and Buffalo this year, and some of these other games where it's been just so strong. Two teams meeting up against one another as far as the total trending in one direction that I can't step in front of that. And I won't step in front of that. So do I love the over? No. But based on the series history, I lean that way. That's hard to ignore that. 8-1-1 to the over last 10 meetings, and all 10 at least 6 goals. Alex, what do you think here? Kings, Golden Knights.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here is actually the over. I can't take a side here with these two teams, and I think this is going to be one where they just kind of roll the puck out and just let things decide what they may. Number 1 and number 2 team in the division, they're definitely going to be. Every game that they play against each other is going to be a battle now. And the rivalry that the league wanted out of these two, I think it might actually start to come to fruition with some of these games this season because they're battling neck and neck. And this is definitely a live over game for sure. 5.5 and plus money with 1.5. I think we'll be able to get that. And I can see where, like I said, the Kings at the end of a road trip, maybe they get a little comfortable early. Vegas jumps on them. And even though Vegas has been, like I said, team 5 straight first period unders, I think we see that tide turn. I think we see goals here. So I'll be looking for the first period and full game over at 5.5. First period full at 1.5 for plus money. I'll be looking for both of those live.
Yeah, I think you're talking me into the over, honestly, Alex. And then there's another thing I was thinking about while you were talking there about it. As great as LA's been defensively here, you do have a Vegas team that didn't get things rolling offensively much against Anaheim, and a Vegas team that actually at home has been able to score goals this year. They did put up 7, against Colorado, their last home game here. And then you factor in that the Kings road trip in the East. They had to travel all the way to the East, have those 3 games in the East. Now you're flying, back to the Pacific time zone here, playing Vegas. And sometimes all that travel, it adds up in a spot like this. And that's where the sluggish defensive play creeps in, the turnovers, the brain farts, the mental blunders, because, that's not just a physical thing, all this air miles that LA's had, but it's the mental thing as well. And you're right. It's just something about these two teams where we've actually seen them generate great chances and generate goals head to head repeatedly against one another. And it's most of the time it's been McClellan for LA, same coach. And even though earlier on in this 8-1-1 to the over run, we saw coaches like DeBoer for Vegas, maybe there were even some Gerard Gallant Vegas teams in that mix with the 8-1-1 to the over. But even the recent ones here since Bruce Cassidy's been there the last couple of years, they've still gone over the total. So It's strong series histories, but at the same time, I mean, the LA Kings have just, been impeccable with unders and defensive play on this road trip. So that's what makes it a great, fascinating debate as far as the total in this game. No question about that. As far as props go for this game, there's a couple that stand out to me. Now, we did mention for a few games there for Vegas, Paul Cotter, because he was up the lineup, but he looks like he's been dropped down again. Will Carrier is the one now on that second line where Cotter used to be. William Carrier with Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone on the second line. So I do see some value there as far as props go. And I'll throw one out for the blue line for Vegas. And I wrote this in the article that I did on this game for Oddspedia. Shea Theodore, 7 of the last 9 games, he's had a point for this team. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, not too many goals, only 3, but 9 assists. It's kind of taken a shot that he does score a goal. He's been more of an assists player for the Vegas Golden Knights, but certainly betting him to get a point tonight is definitely well worth a look, in my opinion. It's about minus 110 for the point prop. If you want to take the shot that he can find the back of the net, he does shoot the puck quite a bit, plus 500, plays on the power play, but the assist prop is plus 125 for Shea Theodore tonight, and he's been racking up the apples this season from the blue line for the Vegas Golden Knights. So I thought that was good. And for LA, I'm not going to overthink it. It's pretty much the same players I have mentioned. Now, again, Kempe, Kopitar, they are capable of scoring. Fiala, Dubois. But I'm going to target Byfield on the top line. He's definitely playing better and better and better, getting more comfortable with Kopitar and Kempe. Trevor Moore, it goes without saying, his props every night worth a look if you're going to look at LA players. And I would throw out one more, too, as far as player props. He's moved up to the second line. He did score, I believe, against the Leafs on this road trip, and he scored against Philadelphia the other night. So 2 goals and 3 points in the last 3 games, all of which since he's been moved up to the second line for LA, and that's Arthur Kaliev. Arthur Kaliev is someone that's got some underrated skill. He's got a great shot, great release. Nobody, would think of that because, he's played down the lineup so far, but you can get plus 360 on him to find the back of the net. Arthur Kaliev tonight for the LA Kings. No question. Starting to heat up, getting the opportunity to play on the second line with Danault and Moore, and he's taking advantage of that opportunity right now for the LA Kings. All right, great stuff. That is the Wednesday card, a short card with just 3 games. Shout out to everyone in the chat. 166 live viewers. Hit the like button.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much. So shout out to everyone in the chat right now. And again, Ice Guys family plan. It's $9.99 US per month. Tomorrow's the big night where we have our first exclusive Ice Guys family plan, YouTube members only, live betcast starting at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. It's a huge Thursday night slate. There's a lot, and we'll be on for the early games. So at least until the end of, probably Nashville, Winnipeg, which would be around 10:30 Eastern. That's probably when we'll wrap it up. So we'll be on for about 3.5 hours tomorrow. It won't be the full all-night betcast like for the late games like it would be for the full monthly one, but we'll be on for the early game. There's some good early games. We've got Vancouver, Ottawa should be interesting. Wild and the Rangers. Alex's Blackhawks are in action tomorrow night down in Tampa Bay. Won't be an easy assignment, but they are playing tomorrow night down in Tampa against the Light. Islanders, Bruins, interesting matchup. Stars and Jackets, Arizona, St. Louis, Nashville, Winnipeg, rounding out the early slate tomorrow night. So fascinating games as well. Seattle, Colorado is 9. We won't stay on for that game, but it's they've already played each other once. That's a good game, but they've already played each other once. But we'll be on for the early games tomorrow night. Thursday night, make sure you join us for our first family plan members only betcast. We do have, I believe, Brett McLean on the radar to join us on the show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Good to see him again on the show joining us. It's been a while. And he's been trying to get on the show with us for a while, and he might be with us on Beantown Friday with Jimmy and I and Alex, that's Danny DeKaiser. He's been interested for a while getting on this show. Recently retired Detroit Red Wings defenseman for many years, still loves Detroit sports, cheering on his line. I know he's happy about his Detroit Lions right now and the way they're playing. I don't know if Alex shares that same enthusiasm when it's a division rival, but Detroit's playing well, and Danny DeKaiser might be able to join. He has another job now since he's retired, but he's going to attempt to join us on Friday on the show. So all that coming up, and again, the betcast tomorrow night for family plan members. Make sure you check that out.
Yeah, and also check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Ice Guys. I hope to have an article up on the week, kind of do a revision of looking at regulation draws, and I'll have some different charts that are kind of be added in there as well. I'm also going to have my goalie charts updated as well. Ian, I know you posted your rankings as well, right?
That's coming up. Yep, today.
That's coming up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Cool.
That's going to be on Patreon. And again, the way I'm going to do it is we'll put the top 5 teams on the community tab as well, and then the full list will be on Patreon. Because I'm telling you what, the text formatting, that's the one thing YouTube. Let's get some proper text editors there.
Yeah, it'd be nice
in the fucking community tab. I mean, it's nice you can make people pull. And I know it's not supposed to be writing a novel or writing an essay on the community tab, but man, it is difficult. I've always got to, when I post the props and the betting card, I've got to go in and align things, and because just automatically when you're copying and pasting, it creates these spaces in between each bet, and I'm like, these wide space. I got to go in there and take away all the spaces, each and every time. So yeah, they got to get a little better text editor there. Got to send that as a recommendation to the folks at YouTube. But anyway, we work around it. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Alex is passing on the bargain bin special of the night tonight, but I do have one, and it's going to be that last game we talked about. The LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. It's not as great a selection tonight, of course, for bargain bin bets, only 3 games. But I'm going to go back to LA and Arthur Kaliev here at plus 360 at BetMGM and DraftKings, among other books, to find the back of the net. Look, we've got the odds in our favor, percentages in our favor. He's been moved up to the second line the last few games, and he scored 2 goals in the last 3 games. For the Los Angeles Kings against the Leafs and against the Flyers the other night. So great value, moving on the second line. He's got a great release, and that's the kind of release that can beat a goalie that's playing well, like Aiden Hill. Just a shot that no goalie is going to be able to stop. He's got that kind of release, and he's starting to show it now with goals in 2 of the last 3 games for the Los Angeles Kings. So Arthur Kaliev plus 360. That is going to be my bargain bin special of the night. All right, it is time for best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, like I said, small card. I'm not really crazy about anything on the docket tonight, but I am going to go for my best bet for show purposes. I'm going to go Ottawa, Toronto, draw, plus 380. This just feels like a classic kind of don't overthink it. Ottawa comes out, plays spirited early. Toronto finds a way to get back in the game late, and then all of a sudden, here we are at overtime or a shootout. So I'm just going to keep it simple. Go Ottawa, Toronto, draw, plus 380. That's my best bet.
All right, Ottawa, Toronto, draw, plus 380 for Alex with his best bet. I used the draw with the Leaf game the other night as best bet, so let's hope we can get 2 in a row with these Leaf games going past regulation. All right, my best bet for this Wednesday card, I'm going to go to Los Angeles, plus 110 or plus 115 is actually still out there at a couple books. I like it. They're undefeated on the road. They've played an awesome hockey. Vegas has shown some vulnerability. They lost to Anaheim. Chicago went in there and beat them for their 1 home loss this year. Blackhawks beat them in overtime. So, and the Kings, I thought, even though they lost to the Vegas Golden Knights last month, 4-3 in overtime, I thought the Kings, outplayed the Golden Knights a little bit, deserved a little bit of a better fate. And look, sometimes when it's a successful long road trip and it's that final game, you worry about that spot. But we just saw the New York Rangers sweep the road trip. We were worried about New York, that final game of their road trip when it was Winnipeg they played. And we were worried they might drop that final game, and they won it. So I think the Kings want to have a sweep in this road trip, and they certainly want to beat this foe who they want to measure themselves up against as far as the Western Conference pecking order is concerned. So LA Kings for me here, plus 115. That is going to be my best bet here for this Wednesday NHL card. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast. It's in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will see you tomorrow. It is a double dose of the Ice Guys for many of you tomorrow with the Daily Show at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then the first Ice Guys Family Plan YouTube channel members exclusive betcast coming your way tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We look forward to a big Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow for all of it right here on the Ice Guys.